Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on your Friday night. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. The Spring Creek Mine in Bighorn County will reopen for now.
After hours of negotiations, the Montana Department of Environmental Quality and the Navajo Transitional Energy Company have reached a temporary agreement.
Tomorrow, hundreds of miners will go back to work after a two-day shutdown at Montana's biggest coal mine.
Production came to a halt yesterday because the new owners did not have a permit to operate the mine. But late this afternoon, NTEC agreed to a limited waiver of sovereign immunity for an interim period. Now that means the mining company owned by the Navajo Nation will waive some of its rights for just 75 days so both sides can continue to negotiate and reach an agreement.
The two sides were at odds regarding sovereign immunity and the impact on Montana state laws and regulations.
Now, Spring Creek is one of the 3 mines purchased by NTEC during Cloud Peak Energy's bankruptcy auction earlier this month.
Well, the Bighorn County Sheriff's Office has released the names of the people arrested in a shooting incident in Hardin early this morning. 29-year-old Gary Huggs Jr. and 30-year-old Donna Lynn Russell are in custody in the Yellowstone County Detention Facility. That shooting happened in the parking lot at the Love's truck stop near Interstate 90 in Hardin a little after midnight. A Montana game warden was at the truck stop and helped disarm a person holding a handgun and exchanged gunfire. He says 2 men are in the hospital in connection with the shooting. The game warden was not injured. Yellowstone County Sheriff Mike Linder says the Hardin shooting may be related to a shooting in Lockwood last night. That's where a person shot at someone in a car. Detectives from sheriff's offices in Yellowstone and Bighorn counties are investigating.
2 suspects are facing up to 40 years in prison for allegedly breaking into a North Billings home, threatening to kill one woman, beating another, and stealing about $1,000 in cash and drug paraphernalia. 18-year-old Kaylin Ackerman and 19-year-old Jalen Clark are charged with aggravated burglary and obstructing a peace officer. A 17-year-old boy was also arrested, but charges are unclear. Now, court documents state the 3 men broke into a home early Thursday morning, threatened to blow one woman's head off, pointed a shotgun at her 3-year-old daughter, and beat another woman with their weapons. Now that woman ran out of the house, flagged down a Billings police officer, and all 3 suspects were arrested just a few blocks away. Now a shotgun was found in the front yard, and authorities believe 2 handguns were discarded somewhere in that neighborhood.
Well, silent and somber moments today as a community and law enforcement across the state remember a fallen officer. More
than 1,000 people turned out in Bozeman for the funeral of Deputy Jake Allmendinger, all there to pay their respects to the Gallatin County Sheriff's deputy who died in the line of duty last Saturday.
The procession arrived at the church this morning and was followed by a memorial service to honor one of Gallatin County's beloved deputies.
MTN's Gabby Krevitt was at today's memorial to bring us the celebration of his life.
Deputy Sheriff Jake Allmendinger was honored and remembered today by family, friends, law enforcement, and members of the community. Deputy Allmendinger was killed in an accident last week while responding to a call up Ferry Lake Road in Bozeman. Speakers at the funeral service remembered Jake as a kind, gentle soul who loved his wife and 3 children.
He was an amazing father, husband, son, brother. Jake was a blessing to our family.
His passion for helping people led him to success as a dispatcher and deputy at the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office.
Saturday, when he asked Ryan to hop in his rig and head up that mountain, he was doing what he loved.
Around 1,200 people from across the county and state attended Deputy Allmendinger's service at Journey Church. The auditorium was filled with people mourning the loss of a deputy sheriff that was taken too soon. All members from the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office were invited to attend the service, while other agencies like the Bozeman and Belgrade Police Department and the Montana Highway Patrol covered calls during the funeral.
Thank you for all the first responders for their support here today, and for their willingness to put their lives at risk for all of us.
Family members, close friends, and people from the Sheriff's Office painted a life picture of Deputy Allmendinger. Also in attendance was Montana Highway Patrol Trooper Wade Palmer, who was seriously injured on duty earlier this year.
May Jake be honored today as a man of character and of love and of loyalty.
In Bozeman, Gabby Krevitt, MTN News.
All right, turning to weather now, Bob. After a nice fall day today, some changes for the weekend, huh?
You know, it's hard to believe such a beautiful day today, right? You know,
Yep.
and then now in a few hours, it's all going to go bye-bye. Let me show you what we're talking about. We go here to our high-resolution forecast model. The rain and snow already starting to make its way into the state, into the northwest corner of Montana. Of course, we had a nice warm day today. A warm front swept through. Tonight, that cold front drops all the way down to southern Montana into the Billings area. It's going to be producing snow showers, maybe a little rain mixing with snow as well. Then the whole thing just pushes on down into Wyoming. So with that being said, let me show you what we still have working on that area. A wind advisory until midnight for the Beartooth foothills for 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. Plus the area in the purple, that's winter weather advisories. Could see 2 to 6 inches of snow in the Beartooth foothills. Also in the Absaroka Mountains, 4 to 8 inches of snow. The Bighorns could see 5 to 8 inches of snow. Meanwhile, up there in the Rocky Mountain front, it's more like 5 to 10 inches of snow by Cutbank and 5 to 9 inches of snow in the mountains over there by Great Falls. So yeah, this whole thing is starting to push its way into our region, and things are starting to change drastically. By tomorrow morning, you could see a little snow on the ground. We'll have more on that in a few more minutes.
All right, thanks, Bob. Well, volunteers out in force near Racetrack Creek in Butte this morning, all with one goal in mind, saving an important tributary to the Clark Fork River. MTN's John Amy has more on this restoration project.
While much work is being done to clean up the upper Clark Fork River, conservationists are also working on improving the river's tributaries.
No river can be more healthy than the tributaries feeding it.
That's why Clark Fork Coalition members and volunteers from Northwestern Energy were at Racetrack Creek, several miles west of Butte, planting willows along the creek bank, which suffered from major erosion from flooding last year. Without the restoration work, the bank would continue to erode into the water.
And all of that is like taking basically a dump truck and just dumping sand into the creek. And that's not what you want for a spawning reach.
Volunteers from the utility company said they want to be good stewards of the environment.
Thinking back to people like my uncle, who was always out in the woods, always out in the environment, always out doing fishing or hunting or something else, he was the type of guy that would certainly appreciate people taking care of the environment.
So if you love those brown trout in the Clark Fork River, then you have to love Racetrack Creek, because this is where those trout are born.
Trout that spawn in these tributaries are actually the trout that you end up catching when you fish in the river.
In Racetrack, John Amy, MTN News.
Thanks, John. And officials say it could take another 20 years to fully restore the upper Clark Fork River.
Well, 6 months and millions of dollars later, the reconstruction of the historic Sperry Chalet is finally complete. Project manager Travis Neal says crews worked 7 days a week for the last months to bring that chalet back to life. The iconic Montana landmark was destroyed by the 2017 Sprague fire. The reconstruction project, anything but easy. Crews had to hike up hill 7 miles to reach that chalet, and the materials were then flown in from helicopter or packed up by a mule train. The reconstruction was not open to creative interpretation, as crews had to stay as close as they could to the original chalet.
Everyone involved in the project, from the top down, has really invested a lot. The crews on site, were on site 8 days a week, and then they'd get back to their families. But everyone throughout this project has gotten a pretty good emotional connection with the chalet up there. And to be honest, I wish we could extend it even further so we could keep working up there. It's so beautiful.
O'Neill says a few finishing touches will be added before that project is completed, but the chalet will be open for the summer of 2020, and reservations for it should be available online sometime early next year.
Well, coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, 10 years of Pink in the Q2 studios. We'll check out how this celebration came to be and what it's become.
And in sports, Weston Bozeman tonight for the divisional title. Did it live up to the hype? Scott will show you who survived.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.